Just wanted to say good morning to everyone and thank you all for joining us for our fourth Homeowners Guide webinar. I'm excited to see the reoccurring names and new names every week. It's really awesome. We're excited to be able to do this for everyone. So today our hosts are Donna Benoit and, sorry, I just want somebody else in, and Becky Stoltz. And they will be talking all about the storage versus open concept paradox. I'm Fallon. I'm a marketing coordinator here at MidCape. I'm just going to be playing producer and switching slides. But Donna has been with MidCape for over 8 years now. She works out of our South Dennis location. So does Becky. She has been with MidCape for over 18 years. So I will leave you all in very good hands with the two of them. I'm going to turn it over.
All right, thank you, Fallon. So today is our fourth webinar, and thank you for joining us. I'm going to give you some general information first off, and then we're going to get into the specific areas of the kitchen and talk about the options you have for storage. So if we could have the first slide. So why is storage so important? Now, if you take a look at these slides, there's your answer. Storage is important and appealing because it gets items off the countertop and out of sight. With these storage options, everything will have its place and it'll be easy to locate an item and retrieve it. With that being said, the goal would be something like this, where everything's put away, it's neat and clean, it's beautiful, and you're not looking at junk, clutter. So if we can go, hold on. So if you are designing a new kitchen, the cabinet manufacturers have storage accessories available to you in their catalog. The advantage of choosing an accessory from their catalog is that you can have the accessory already installed in the cabinet when it arrives in your home. And the material of accessories can range from plastic, which is on the right, it does the job and it's less expensive, or you could upgrade to a wood look, which is nicer, and you have the option of even choosing a different species. If you're looking for more storage offerings than the cabinet companies offer, or you just want to retrofit your existing cabinets, the two main storage accessory lines available to you are Shelve and Remodel. And their catalogs are filled with storage items that can be ordered and added to cabinets, and they're a great resource for the homeowner who's interested in storage. And if you could go to the next slide. So the first area we're going to talk about is wall cabinets. So wall cabinets come with adjustable shelving in them, and you can adjust that to the height that's appropriate for your storage needs. You can go to the next slide, thank you. The top left is what's called a message center. This is a cabinet that fits on the side of a wall cabinet. It's about 3 inches deep, and it's a great place to store keys, mail, pens. Some of them come with a dry erase board. You can write your shopping list in there and then close that door and everything's out of sight. Second slide is a beverage center. You can store beverages all in one place, and once again, they're easily accessible and they're out of sight. The third picture is a deep wall cabinet, which typically deep wall trays. You could also install a rollout tray in this area for easy access. You could pull out the tray and everything comes to you. There's a photo of a a door spice storage. This is a spice rack that's hung on the back of the door for easy viewing of all your spices. The only downside to this is that the interior shelves of your wall cabinet will have to be reduced in depth to accommodate the depth of the spice drawer when it closes. But it is a nice place to put your spices, because you open up the door and they're all right there in plain view. Another option for a wall cabinet for spice storage is to do a wall cabinet pull-out, which it pulls out on glides and you're able to access it from either side and then push it back in place. And the last option there is Hefela's spice storage pull-out tray. This is a great option as it doesn't take up the entire space of your wall cabinet, and you can, pick sizes that are appropriate to for your wall cabinet space. Wall cabinet solution, or wall cabinet solutions, otherwise known as wine storage. Open wine storage is a nice feature in a kitchen. Here are some examples. As you can see, they can be hung horizontally or vertically. This is an update to the old version of the crisscross wine storage that you've probably seen in some older kitchens. But it's a nice way to display wines, and it's a nice part of the kitchen design. So in most kitchen, there is a corner. And for a wall corner storage, one that is not shown is a blind base cabinet, which you've probably seen in a lot of kitchens, where you open a door and then you have to either reach to the left or the right to a blind area. It's not ideal. It's pretty cumbersome. Sometimes the designer has to put that in a kitchen because of the layout. But if not, these options are a great use of a wall corner space. The slide on the left is a diagonal wall cabinet, which has a corner turntable in it. So it houses a full circle Lazy Susan, which can hold a lot of items. The middle slide is a photo of an Easy Reach wall corner cabinet, and that has a piano hinge door on it. And if you look at the slide to the right of it, that is the door open. So it's the piano hinge door opens up completely, and you have full access to the items in the corner. And it's nice. It's a nice way to open up the corner of a kitchen even more, because that cabinet is squared off in the corner as opposed to the one on the left, which is a diagonal corner. Go to the next slide. So open storage and glass doors. So a simple way to get a more open feel in your kitchen is to add glass doors to it. And those doors can come with or without mullions. So mullions are the vertical or horizontal features in front of the glass, or sometimes it's incorporated into the panes of the glass. So if you look at the top left photo, that is a wall cabinet with clear glass. It has no mullions in it. So there's nothing obscuring the look into the cabinet. The top left is a cabinet with clear glass, but it has a Craftsman style mullion on it. And there are many mullion options to choose from. You can look at those. You can look at those with your designer and find one that is appealing to you. The bottom right shows the top with a mullion and the bottom without a mullion. So that kind of shows you the difference of a cabinet with a mullion and without. And then the bottom left cabinet shows clear glass as well. But I also wanted to point out, if the inserts that you put in your cabinet, if you're gonna use clear glass, you need to be aware of anything you store in that cabinet will be visible, including the shelves. And I just wanted to point out in that bottom left slide that there's a clear glass cabinet and there's shelves in there. And if that was my kitchen, that would drive me crazy. that those shelves weren't lining up with the mullion. So just keep that in mind. You're going to use clear glass and solid shelves. And there are other options for inserts. If we go to the next slide, instead of having clear glass, you can have opaque glass. Slide 1 shows, the first photo shows a mirrored glass, and that's a nice way to open up the space more because it's reflecting light back into your space and also visually opening up the space with it being a mirror. The middle slide shows an opaque glass. So you still get the open feeling of the kitchen, but the items are obscure. You can't really see what's behind the glass. And then the third picture, this cabinet has clear glass on the front and obscured glass in the back as well. And it also has the addition of glass shelves, which is a nice idea if you're going to light the inside of your cabinet. From the top, the light will filter down through a glass shelf and light the whole cabinet. Instead of, if there were wooden shelves in there, it would just light the top shelf of the cabinet. So open storage and floating shelves. So open shelves are a nice way to open up the space instead of using all wall cabinets with doors. Floating shelves are hung with hidden support. So if you look at that top middle picture, that is how a floating shelf is installed. The brackets are attached to the studs, and then the shelf sleeve is slid over that to hide it completely. So if you look at the first photo, that is the completed look of that floating shelf and how it was applied. You can also do open shelvings with a visible bracket, which is shown in the bottom middle photo. That can be part of your design to bring in to show the brackets. You can have an open span of shelves as seen in the top right photo that kind of opens up that corner. You can use the shelvings to display some items that look nice. And you can visibly open up a corner of a room, as in the bottom left slide, where it took out the wall cabinets in that corner and replaced it with open shelving, and it really opens up that corner of the room instead of having wall cabinets with doors on it. Go to the next slide. Open storage and lighting. So you want to have ample lighting in your space. There's your overall lighting, which lights the room, and you can see that in the recessed lights in the ceiling. There's also task lighting, which lights your task area, like as in your countertops, and you can accomplish that by putting under cabinet lighting under your cabinets. And then there's your accent lighting, which are shown by pendants above the islands, and that can be a great design feature of your kitchen. So a great way to hide things that you use and get them out of sight are appliance garages. So appliance garages are essentially a wall cabinet that does not have a base on it, and it sits right on the countertop. So the countertop continues into the space. And you have the option of adjusting the depth of those. So if you have some appliances that you want to hide, you can let your designer know, I want to put in this, appliance, and it's this deep, and they'll make sure that that cabinet is deep enough to house that appliance for you. You can have a standard door on your appliance, and this slide is showing the other options for doors. The top left is a bifold door. The top right is a lift-up door, which is nice, but my one problem with that is when that door is up, you can't access the wall cabinet door above it. So you might want to think about that. If that door is up and you're using that area, do you want to access what's in the cabinet above? And the bottom two slides are showing a tambour door. And a tambour door is a door that just kind of rolls up and out of the way completely. And you know, when you're done with these appliances, you put them back in that space. I also wanted to point out, if you are planning on doing an appliance garage, plan ahead with your electrician and have a designated plug in that space, so the appliances in there are plugged into that space and then not running across your countertop. Another way to get appliances out of the way is a microwave. You know, a lot of people have microwave or want microwaves in their kitchen. A nice place to put a microwave that's out of sight is in a base cabinet, as shown in that first slide. Those microwaves are typically drawer microwaves, and that they don't function as a door. They pull out as a drawer, and you drop your items in, and it closes up, and it's a nice way to get your microwave out of the way and out of sight. You may want to hide your microwave in a base cabinet or a tall cabinet. And I have customers, you know, they say, I don't use my microwave that often, and I really don't want it in my kitchen, or I want it hidden out of the way. So one option may be to put it in a base cabinet on a rollout tray. So that's what's shown in the center photo. Or you could do the same thing in a tall cabinet. It's tucked away in a tall cabinet, and when you're done using it, you just close the doors, and it's out of sight. So for a lot of people like to have beverage centers in the kitchen, a designated area to serve beverages. And an appliance garage is a nice option to hide that. Or you can also have pocket doors, as shown in the center photo, where the doors actually go back into the side of the cabinet to hide away, and you have all your beverage items in there. So here's another example of appliances. If you have a KitchenAid mixer and you use it a lot, there is a designated storage item that your KitchenAid sits on, and when you're done with it, it actually goes down and back into the cabinet, and it's a designated cabinet just for that. So that appliance seems to be pretty bulky, and for people that are bakers that use it a lot, it's a nice option for it to be really accessible for you. And the right photo shows appliances being hidden by using, you know, your cabinets. When the doors are closed, you have no idea they're there, and when they're open, they're ready for you to use. So the next area we're going to talk about is tall cabinet storage. Tall cabinets, you can have a tall pull-out cabinet, which is in the first photo, where you pull it out and the shelves are accessible from either side. It's a nice way to store dry goods. You can also use a tall cabinet to store your vertical cookie sheets and platters. The bottom middle photo shows a tall cabinet with rollouts in it. And tall pantries like that can come in many different widths. It all depends on your storage needs, but rollouts are a nice feature for deep cabinets, because instead of digging into a shelf trying to find something, you pull out the rollout and everything is easily accessible with that. Another nice feature is on the side of a tall cabinet, you could do a shallow storage area, which is shown on the right slide. You could store dry goods in there, and it's a nice way to capture storage space and very little use of space. I think those cabinets are only 3 inches deep. Another use for tall cabinets is for cleaning supplies. You can designate half a cabinet for, you know, your brooms and buckets, and you could leave the other half for shelving to store your paper goods. And it's a nice way to have you know, your broom, your mop easily accessible in your kitchen area, as opposed to, you know, digging it out of a hall closet. So walk-in pantries. If you have the room in your home to designate a room for a pantry, that's wonderful. You know, it's where you'd store your dry goods, your paper goods, and in that room, you could have open shelving, tall storage, and then it's out of the way, no one can see it. You can also, the cabinet companies also offer, if you look in that top left slide, they have what they're called pantry doors, and they disguise that walk-in pantry. No, you don't know that that room's behind there when the doors are closed. It just looks like it's part of the tall cabinet. So that's another option for, you know, your pantry storage. And I'm going to turn this over to Becky, who's going to talk about bathroom storage and the other areas.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our 4th webinar. I'm going to dive into bathroom storage, closet storage, laundry, and then base cabinet storage. So for bathroom storage, you'll see some accessories that are available for bathrooms and kitchens. They're very similar, such as I don't think there's a slide on here, but a tip-out tray for the sink base, which is useful in a kitchen, where you can put sponges and stuff that you don't want on the countertop and have them hidden away in a designated spot, and that goes in the false front of the sink base in front of the sink. It's also something I've used in bathrooms where people want to hide their toothbrushes, so that's a great spot for that. And the tip-out trays are actually removable, so they can be washed. I don't know if they're dishwasher safe, but they can be washed, as far as, you know, keeping those extra clean, especially for toothbrushes. Another great item that can be used again in kitchen or bathroom is the bottom middle slide, a rollout tray. And what's nice about that, when you're in a sink base where you have plumbing, that center cutout goes around your plumbing. It's called a plumbing chase cutout. And those are usually pretty standard cutouts. Some custom lines can customize those if you have some funky plumbing situations in your cabinets. But you can see in, say, a small vanity cabinet, it gives you enough where you can, you know, store some toilet paper, toiletries, that kind of thing, and be able to pull it out from, you know, the back of the cabinet. The middle slide is what we call a grooming organizer. Those are great because you can keep all of your hair tools. Some of them actually come where there's dedicated plugs in the back of the cabinetry. So any, you know, hair dryer, flat iron, curling iron, even if you have, you know, any sort of plug-in, I guess, toothbrushes, hair clippers, those could have dedicated plugs so that you don't have all the wires all over your bathroom countertop, which is nice. And then when you're done using it, you can just push it back inside of the cabinet and it's hidden away from view. Another item you'll see mainly in kitchens, but also available for bathrooms, is the trash pullout. A lot of people will usually keep a bathroom trash either outside of the cabinet or inside the sink base. So this is just another option if you have the space for it in your bathroom to do a pull-out trash, which just makes it that much more accessible. They also offer hampers, and I don't know if that's in one of the other slides, but I'll just touch on the other pictures in this slide. So the left-hand slide shows a combination of a double sink and then some nice drawer storage in the center. You can also do medicine cabinets, you know, that are recessed into the wall or that sit on top of the wall for extra storage. Another idea is if you have a larger vanity area, the right-hand slide shows tower cabinets that come down to the countertop in lieu of medicine cabinets. If you just are doing mirrors, those are great for storage of toiletries. You could even do towels rolled up inside there. So just some different options for storage for the bathroom. Some options for closet spaces. If you have walk-in closets, or if you just have, you know, even smaller closets and laundry storage, you can use a hamper pull-out, which is great, which you can either do, you know, in either one of these spaces, or they can also be incorporated into vanity cabinets, which is nice. The ironing board pull-out, it gives you the option to have this where it's installed into a cabinet rather than just a separate ironing board. This is a much smaller ironing board. It would be more of a portable one that you might see in, say, a hotel, but it gives you that option to have that accessible in the bathroom, laundry, etc. Another great accessory is the jewelry accessory. If you wanted to incorporate these into a master bathroom, into a closet, they can easily be done. And just to touch on this, almost all of these accessories that we're showing in this whole webinar, these are, for the most part, aftermarket. So they can be installed in existing spaces if you're not planning to renovate your kitchen, bathroom, laundry, closet. But for the most part, they can also be ordered, already installed new cabinetry. Another item in the top middle slide, or the top middle picture, is a pull down clothing rack, which is great if you don't have, you know, if you want to make things more accessible, it can be pulled down, I believe, with a hook, just to give you some options for closet storage. You could also use it in a laundry space for hanging storage, to be able to hang wet clothing that has to hang dry rather than go in the dryer. All right, base storage. So base storage, there's typically more options for base cabinets as far as accessories, mainly because these are, you know, the deeper cabinets in the kitchen along with the tall cabinets. One question we get asked probably more often than not is, why would I go with doors versus drawers? A lot of the times it is, people don't like the aesthetic of a drawer. So they'll go with doors, and one advantage to doing doors with any type of accessory, such as the bottom left picture, the rollout trays, those are actually adjustable in height, which is great. So you can see the one on the bottom, that actually has a deeper rollout and then a shallower one. So if you had, you know, your pots and pans in the deeper one and then just lids in the top one, you could adjust that top one up as far as possible to give you the most height down in the lower one for your taller kind of stock pots. You can also, you know, those are great for bakingware, Tupperware, that type of thing. So that's the big difference between using doors with rollouts than drawers. Drawers are absolutely fixed. You can't move those up and down, but the rollouts you can. And then in the center top slide, and then top right slide, these are examples of tray bases. The top right actually shows one where it's a tray rollout, where you can use that for your cooking, you know, cookie sheets, cutting boards, platters. So if you want to be able to pull that all out from the cabinet to make it more accessible, that's a great option for that. Comes in various sizes. The top center slide is a fixed tray divider. And again, you can use it for, it shows muffin pans, cutting boards, that kind of thing. Those are things that can come fixed in a cabinet, or like we've talked about, these aftermarket companies, Shelve and Hafela, you can get individual ones that if you wanted to space them out however you wanted to, you can put them in your existing cabinets. Those are great because you can kind of customize that space. The top left is a cutting board. It's a door mount cutting board holder, which is nice if you keep, your favorite cutting board that you use all the time. If you want that, more accessible than some of the others, that's a great option to be able to just open the door and put that there. The bottom center slide, this is showing a pots and pans drawer, which mostly, that's probably one of the biggest items that we do in most kitchens, is doing a nice big set of drawers for pots and pans. And I find you don't necessarily need dividers in there because of the handles and the shape of the pots. It almost makes you organize them and keep them kind of going in the same direction. The bottom right slide, touching back on what Donna talked about with wine storage, this is actually a great option for bottle storage. It's a pull-out bottle drawer where you can see there's individual cubbies for one bottle. These aren't adjustable, but I believe they can be customized. So it's great for if you have a bar area, wine storage. If you want to keep it upright, you can use it for liquor bottles, soda bottles, tonic, seltzer, that type of thing. And again, those individual cubbies will keep the bottles from falling over. Right. Let's see. The top left is a removable cleaning caddy, which you would normally put in your sink, and this would, in the sink base, and this would allow you to pull out all of those cleaning products. But I believe it has individual baskets that you can pull out. So if you're going into another area of the house besides the kitchen, you can take those cleaning products with you. The top middle shows a cutting board pullout, which is actually built into the cabinetry. I believe this is also an aftermarket item, but it would require some modifications to existing cabinetry. But it gives you, if you keep your cutting board that you use all the time in the same spot, it allows you to just pull it out and then put it back when you're not using it. The top right picture is pull-out trash and recycling, and then the one below that shows, they call it either a servo drive or RevoMotion, where they actually offer touch-free trash pullouts, where I believe it's kind of like a touch latch, and you push it with either your hand or your knee or your foot. If you have stuff on your hands while you're cooking and you need to put it in the trash, this is a great option. It is a little pricier than a regular pull-out trash and recycle, and it does need, I believe, a dedicated plug or hardwire for that to work. But these are probably one of the #1 items that people look for in the kitchen, so that you don't have to see or smell the trash, which nobody wants to. So it's a great area that you can hide that stuff away if you keep all your trash and recycling inside the kitchen. Bottom left slide is that tip out that I talked about for the bathroom. This shows it in the kitchen, which is more typical. But again, it's a great spot for your scrubbers, sponges, anything like that that you want to keep close by, but you don't necessarily want to see when you're not using it. And each of those white trays, those are the plastic ones. They come plastic or stainless steel. They actually just fit on screws, and those can be just taken off so that you can wash them so they're clean. And then the middle slide on the bottom is just pull out basket storage for if you want open storage more for kind of those dry goods like onions, potatoes, garlic, that type of thing, just to have it so that it's more breathable than hidden inside of a cabinet. Let's see, the left picture is a slide out towel rack, which you can either put, like this shows it in a sink base, so that your hand towels, if you don't have them out in the kitchen, they can be hidden away from view when you're not using them. It can also be put in a dedicated cabinet if you wanted to. That's a great use of, some wasted space, and you can hide those things away, and it also allows them to dry when you're not using them. The top center slide is probably one of my favorite accessories, which I put in my own kitchen as soon as it came out. This is a pull-out knife block and utensil holder. So those top two front and center black blocks, they actually allow you to basically get rid of your traditional knife block that you'd have on the counter. And the knives are held completely vertical, and this allows you to use any knife. So, you know, a lot of cooks don't have, say, matching knife sets. They have all different types of knives. You can put shucking knives for clams. Your big, you know, you could probably fit a meat cleaver in here, because those are about 6 to 8 inches square. And they're these little plastic fingers. So when you put the knives in, it basically forms to that particular knife. So like I said, you can fit any size knife. It's not, you know, you're not using a dedicated slot for a specific size knife. And those blocks are also, you can remove those, and I believe they're dishwasher safe in the top rack. It also gives you a cooking utensil holder, which is great. And then underneath, there's another shelf on the bottom that you can use. This is great for storage of garlic, potatoes, onions that are hidden away in a dry, cool space. Also, bottles of oil, that type of thing that you use right next to the stove. But we talked about the wine storage a little bit. This picture shows it in an upper cabinet, but this is also something that you can incorporate into your base cabinets. So base cabinet, wall, and tall cabinets can all be spots for wine bottle storage. This one shows the big X cube cabinet. So that's an option, but the other ones that we showed before, those are all options for base cabinetry. And then the right-hand slide also shows a spice pullout. So this is a dedicated cabinet where the pullout is attached to the door. And these are typically adjustable shelves. So if you have oil bottles that are taller and then you've got shorter spices, this also shows it. You can use it for canned goods. This is a great use next to the stove, that you can pull everything out and you can see it, and it's completely accessible. We're going to move on to drawer storage. So what we're showing here, the left-hand pictures are showing cutlery dividers. The top left is a pretty standard cutlery divider, which again, most of these accessories are able to be retrofitted into existing cabinetry, but also you can order new cabinets where these are already installed. You can also do custom dividers, which you can see on the bottom right-hand side. So you can completely customize a drawer for your utensil needs, spice needs, all that stuff. That is typically in more of a semi-custom cabinet line and into custom, where you can get into that. But it's a great way to maximize your storage space, but have those dividers in there. Again, the center slide in the complete center slide shows the pots and pans drawers again. Again, this is one of probably the #1 requests for drawer storage is pots and pans, because it allows you to just pull out one big drawer. It's all right there and completely accessible. You don't have to get down on your hands and knees to try to find them. You can also do dish storage, which is the bottom center slide. That shows you a pegboard option. So there's a pegboard in the bottom of the drawer, and then there's pegs that are removable. So you can basically put those around your plate stacks. You can use it for cups, glassware, bowls. So that allows you to customize the inside of the cabinet with those pegs around your specific dishes. You're not limited to sizes. And what those pegs do is that they keep them in place so they don't slide everywhere. And then let's see, top center slide shows a spice drawer storage, which that's another way where your spices are completely accessible and they're laying down and you can see all the labels, rather than having them just in, say, a wall cabinet where you have them stacked a few deep, and then of course you need to get to the one that's in the back. So that's a great way, you know, near your stove or where you're prepping, you can have those just laying down. They also, I think in this slide, it shows a tiered cutlery so that they're angled up a little bit for better storage visibility. And then the top right-hand picture shows a charging drawer. This is, again, something that is aftermarket, or it can be, it can come with your cabinetry. Not all lines of cabinetry have this in their spec book, but it can also be added to a new kitchen. So these have dedicated plugs. Some come with just regular plugs. Some also come with USB. I believe the USB have faster charging capabilities for phones, where they can charge in about 10 minutes. So this is great, where you can put all of your phones, tablets, that kind of thing in a drawer, hidden away when they're charging. They're not up on the countertop. And this, because we're getting a lot of call for charging stations, so that they're kind of out of sight, out of mind when they're charging and you're not using them. Corner base storage. The corner cabinets in a kitchen, specifically a base corner, are typically the bane of everybody's existence, unfortunately. So these are some storage solutions for those corners that make everything just more accessible. Probably the number one that we use is the Lazy Susan corner. So it's a full square corner with, like Donna talked about, the square corner wall. It has a knuckle hinge or a piano hinge door. So it's two doors attached to each other that swing fully open. It's a squared off corner so that you can stand right in the corner of the kitchen. These are also available with a diagonal corner, but that also comes out a little bit further than squaring it off. But these typically have individually shelf-mounted Lazy Susan trays. So this is a big improvement from what they used to be, where they can still be ordered with a central pole where you can adjust them in height. But these are much better because they're shelf-mounted. So if anything does fall off, which typically they don't, it won't fall back into the black hole down at the bottom of the cabinet. And this one's shown where it actually has a metal rail around it, so things are less likely to fall off of there. The top right picture is it's a blind corner application. So when you have a corner in your kitchen and the two cabinets on either run basically butt into each other at the corner. So instead of the old blind corners where you'd have to get down on your hands and knees and climb into the back of the cabinet to find whatever you're looking for, this type of accessory and the one that's shown below it, these make it a lot easier to access everything inside that cabinet. Now they do take up some space, but usually it makes it well worth it versus climbing into the cabinet. So the top right slide is what they call a magic corner, and that pulls out, there's some interlocking pieces that pull out, but those are trays, and I believe they're adjustable in height, which is nice. So you can, maybe use this for big lobster pots, stock pots, that type of thing, bakeware, bowls, anything you want to put on there. You can also use it for small appliances, which is nice. And then you could also use it for pots and pans. And the bottom one on the right-hand side is what they call either the cloud or Le Mans. So that completely pulls out of the cabinet, and it's a kidney shape so that it can basically get around the corner of the cabinet and get past the doors. And that completely comes out of the cabinet and pulling everything from the back outside of the cabinet so that you can see everything and access it. There's also options for toe kick storage. The one that we found out about recently was actually, they call it a Sweepo-Vac by Hafele on the left-hand slide. So this is actually a toe kick vacuum, which sometimes you'll see it in hair salons where they'll sweep everything up to this vent, and it's hooked up to a central vac. This actually is its own separate vacuum that does not have to be hooked up to a central vacuum or any other type of vacuum. So the front, I believe the front part just flips up when you touch it, and it will suck in. So if you just have, dirt or anything in the kitchen, food stuff, it will actually suck that up. And this does not get hardwired, I don't believe. It's just a plug-in. So again, this is something you could do in a new space, kitchen, bathroom, pretty much anywhere you have cabinetry, or it can be retrofitted into an existing space. The center picture is a toe kick heater, which can replace baseboard or floor heat if you are, say, taking walls out to open up your kitchen to the rest of your house. This is a great option because then you're not losing all of that heat. The difference between this and, say, baseboard heat, this does have a fan in it, so it actually blows the heat out. It's not just radiating out. It can be a little noisy, but it is a great option for, if, like I said, if you're removing baseboard heat and you need to replace it with something. The right-hand picture is a toe space drawer. So a typical toe space is about 4.5 inches tall. And this is an option that you can get to make use of that space. Some people have said that's a great spot to hide your valuables if you want them hidden away where nobody would ever find them. It's very shallow though, so you could use it for cookie sheets, cutting boards, shallow stuff in there. They also offer, which I don't think we have a slide of, a folding step stool, which can be stored in a toe kick space. So those are some great uses of the toe kick, which is generally just covered up, and it can be wasted space. So those are some great options for you.
Okay, thank you everyone for sticking with us, and I hope you learned a lot about kitchen storage. Again, that was Becky and Donna. Their information is on the screen right there. And I want to open it up to questions if you guys have anything you'd like to ask. You feel free to unmute yourselves, or we can talk about it in the chat. Would either of you like to address lighting or the paradox of storage versus open concept? We touched on it a few times. It was meant to be a consistent theme, Jonas. So how are you continuing to have this open concept theme throughout your kitchen, which often involves removing walls and eliminating places for your typical storage? How are we allowing that open concept to come through and maintaining proper storage solutions? So things like the appliance garages and glass door fronts, ample lighting, all those different solutions help maintain that in a smaller space. Do you have any other questions? All right. Oh, we have a question from Doug. Becky, I believe you touched on the drawers and doors. Would you like to answer, do most people use drawers or doors?
I'd like to recommend a combination of the two in a kitchen. And again, because doors with any sort of rollouts, those allow you to adjust them in height, whereas, and it's nice to have a combination of the two in the kitchen. But I am also finding more people are going with drawers because the biggest difference between a drawer base and doors is that a drawer is just one function. You pull it out, you see everything right there, versus the doors, and then you pull out whatever's inside of it. So a lot of people prefer the drawers for that function where you don't necessarily have to be standing right in front of it, and you can just pull that out and everything is seen right there.
Thank you. Could you spell the companies that sell aftermarket? I believe they're talking about Hefela and Remodel.
Yep. So the two aftermarket companies are, they have the websites are www.Hefela, which is spelled HAFELE.com, and the other company was Remodel, which is REV-A Shelf, SHELF.com. So those are two great websites for a homeowner to go to and just take a look at all of the storage options you have, either with a new kitchen or if you want to retrofit your existing kitchen.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll get people that are just, say, doing new countertops in their spaces, but they also ask about, if they have an older kitchen, how do I, add some of this stuff in? So both of those companies offer those accessories to the new cabinet companies already installed, or they can be retrofitted into existing spaces, which is great.
Thank you for typing that out, Rhonda. All right. Well, if there are no more questions, I think we are going to wrap it up, and we did well for time. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you all.
Thank you for coming.